Hey God's people, hope that you're having a fantastic day. Today we're going to talk about not waking love before it's time. We're going to get to scripture momentarily. However, I know that if you have felt like you love someone and you haven't allowed God to love you, that's not love. That is only lust or you fulfilling your fleshly desires. Because over in 1 John, coming out of the NIV, 4th chapter and 8th verse, it says, whoever does not love does not know God, because God is love. And this is how a lot of men and a lot of women get tripped up, thinking that if they haven't built their relationship with the Father, then they can build productive relationships with other people. And that's just not going to happen. The Bible tells us that God is a jealous God and that he will have no other God before him. So if you haven't loved on the Lord and allow him to pour his love back to you, then he's jealous. He wants you to love him. He wants you to love him first. Now let's dive into not waking love before it's time. Solomon, 8th chapter, 4th verse. Now, before we read that, the Songs of Solomon is a book of poems and just loving one another and the way that you should be conducting yourself outside of waking love. Over in Solomon, the 8th chapter, the 4th verse, states, daughters of Jerusalem, I charge you, do not arouse or awaken love until it is so desires. Okay. Then Solomon 3 and 5, the B clause of that particular scripture says, not to awaken love until the time is right. Now, the only way that you're going to know that the time is appropriate, the time has arrived to wake love, is to go back to the first verse that I read. And that was 1 John 4 and 8, that the only way you know love is to know God. I'm sure that it's people that are viewing me as of now that has went their own way, and you find yourself or found yourself in a predicament where you thought that the person loved you, or you thought that you were really in love with the person, and later to find out in the relationship, situationship, the destruction situation, that you found out that this person did not host the capacity to ever love me. After you have rehabilitated your heart, renewed your mind, and grew into a fonder understanding of what love is, then you look back like, oh, I don't even believe that I was even with her. Or I can't believe I was with him. That's because love hides a multiple of faults. Love is kind, love protects, love covers. So when you deceive yourself in the beginning stages of getting to know someone and not going by the biblical principles in getting to know someone, then you have to grow out of the deception that you've allowed yourself to encounter. Proverbs 18 and 12 says, the tongue has the power of life and death, and those who love it will eat its fruits. So now that can go in several different avenues, right? That particular scripture, but we're just going to define it down to love. When you first meeting someone and they're love bombing you with affirmations, they're sending you good morning texts, how are you doing, handsome, what's to your day, how was your day? You know, you're not really dissecting the character of the person. You're too surface right now, so you're just on the surface of that person, of what they're giving to you surface, okay? However, if we go over into Matthew, the 12th chapter, the 34th and the 35th verse, you brood of vipers, how can you who are evil say anything good? For the mouth speaks what the heart is full of. 35. A good man brings good things out of the good stored up in him. And an evil man brings things out of the evil stored up in him. The brood of vipers in this particular passage of scripture, Jesus is talking to the Pharisees. And the Pharisees has the understanding falsely that the power of life and death is in their hands, when that is not so. This is why Jesus is correcting them, because you cannot think that the power of life and death lies in your hands. Then what does the Almighty have? He's giving you the power of life and death in your speak. It's in your tongue. So whatever you speak, you will see it. And whatever you don't speak, you won't see it. Let's go over to Matthew, the 6th chapter and the 6th verse. We are in the NIV. But when you pray, go into your room, close the door, and pray to your Father who is unseen. Then your Father who sees what is done in secret will reward you. Now, I know that was a lot, but let me break it down for you. When you in a relationship or in the beginning stages of a relationship, sometimes you tend to lie to yourself. You don't pay attention to the red flags early on, because out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. Now, if you don't have an ear to hear what the mouth is saying, because you're still on the surface level, you're not trying to dissect what the person is telling you, then you're willingly going to travel into deceitful territory. Because if you're not listening, then you can't prepare properly. Then you won't be able to do what Matthew 6:6 says, and that's going into the secret place, talking to the Father, trying to gain knowledge from the Father. Because he didn't say if you pray in the secret place, you know, he might answer it. He said, then your Father who sees what is done in secret will reward you. The thing is, a lot of people are extremely desperate and trying to seek out companionship from unreliable people. Now, if that's okay with you, so be it. However, for the ones that are just not tolerating it, what you have to do is go into the secret place and surrender it all to the Lord. Not just your job or your financial status, but surrender your all to the Lord. Not trying to go and find your husband building profiles on sites that are dating sites. Because I'm still a firm believer, just like there are women of God walking around waiting for their husbands to find them, there are many men walking around trying to find their wife. However, God is so great that he is going to keep his son away from deceitful women. You say you want a man of God, an upright man before the Lord, someone that is after God's own heart, but you're trying to deceitfully find your husband by positioning yourself to a specula of many different spirits that dwell in men. I did a survey of men that I've been around, and they're godly men, okay? And a couple of them were not, but I did that with all the intentionality in play. Now, the men that were not godly was like, it doesn't really matter if the girl is on a dating site. You know, it just matters that if she respects herself and if she's willing to let's just see where things go, then so be it. But the guy that is not on a dating site, or he is a God-fearing man, okay? Both, not on a dating site and a God-fearing man. What tends to happen in that scenario is that the God-fearing men that I have talked to has told me that there's no way that they would try to find their wife on a dating site, because it speaks of desperation, the level of desperation that they will go to place themselves in sight of many men. Men don't want that. Real men don't want that. In fact, if you Google, you will see how many people get married on dating sites. And it's not very many, okay? It's far in between. So take your typing fingers and go over to Google and check Fact Me, because I know what I'm talking about. You need to surrender everything unto the Lord. And also, the devil is trying to devour your soul. He knows exactly what you like. He knows how to distract you. And if you allow him to be a distraction to you, that's what he'll do. And he doesn't have like little horns or anything like that. He comes in the package of tall, dark, and handsome. Fine. Just fine. All his teeth together. He got the perfect nose. He got the right complexion. And then he sifts you as wheat, okay? That's what Satan does. He goes to and from the earth, seeking the souls that he may devour. This is why Solomon addressed the women, daughters of the king, okay? I charge you, do not arouse or awaken love until it so desires. That means you need to fact check this man. You need to keep yourself, okay? Keep yourself in the strength of the Lord. Don't be allowing this man to take you to dark places on y'all first date, to the movies. His hand goes on your thigh, then work his way up. Now he got his arm wrapped around you, maybe an inappropriate hand where you just don't want to put yourself in that type of situation. That is why he said, do not arouse or awaken love until it so desires. Because when you allow yourself to be put in situations, you not gonna win in situations where the Lord is not in control. If you a child of the king, a daughter of the king, baby girl, unless you give your situation over to the Lord beforehand, before you start trying to go out with this man, See if he calling you every day. See, I said calling, not texting. That's two different things. He don't have to sit up and FaceTime you for hours and hours and hours. No. Make sure that he is calling you to see how you're doing. Because God created men to be protectors and providers. So therefore, if he wants to be bothered with you, he's going to set aside time for you. Okay? What's in the heart comes out the mouth. It ain't no I'm real busy. I forget. I meant to call you, but I got tied up. It's no excuse for it. But you take what I said with a grain of salt and do what you will with it. This is Serena. I pray that your soul prospers as well as your bank account. Blessings.